Well, first of all, I want to welcome everybody to the SPROCKIT stage. Haven't they done a great job setting this up? An amazing convention we have here. Harry Glazer over there and Danielle DePina. And I want to welcome Daymond John, the star of Shark Tank, as you know him, but he's had so much tremendous success even before that, which got him to that platform that he has now. So we're going to talk to him about his success and how he got to where he is, but also answer some questions for a lot of the people who have startups who are really interested in achieving the same levels of success or even more, right?
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Wait, how many startups are in the crowd? Wow, that's the whole crowd.
All right.
All right.
And this is, you know, part of SPROCKIT's theme, fostering innovation. So this is a place for startups. People don't really know your backstory. A lot of the people, what I really love about you is that you were one of the first people to really capitalize on the hip-hop phenomenon and built a clothing company. But there was a point where you were working at Red Lobster and you were showing up at video sets hoping that people would wear your clothes. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, so I was working at Red Lobster, and I was the one that handed everybody cheese biscuits at Red Lobster. And, you know, I would go to video sets because I only had 10 shirts, literally 10. And half the video sets I would sit on 18 hours, 20 hours, and then the director or the stylist would come back and say, we don't need your stuff, get out of here, right? But then sometimes I would, because I was such a fan of the art and the music, I would, you know, I would get a chance to talk to a rapper or an artist, and I would get them to wear the video. And then because I didn't have any money and I only had those 10 shirts, at the end of the video, I'd have to take the shirt back. Right? But I did that for about 2 years. And after about 2 years, you know, the videos played so much that people thought I was really a huge brand when I was literally a waiter at Red Lobster with 10 t-shirts in my basement.
And how did the company grow to the point that you were able to put your full-time efforts into that and take it to the level that you ultimately took it? Because everyone knows FUBU, right?
Well, you know what? I actually closed FUBU down 3 times from 1989 to 1992 because I ran out of money, right? Then all of a sudden, I came here to this trade show in 1995, and I stayed at the Mirage Hotel because I had no money to exhibit in the Magic Trade Show here. And I had no money to actually get a badge to walk into the trade show. So myself and 5 of my friends slept in a room at the Mirage Hotel. We hung up all the clothes on the wall, and we snuck in here and we talked to all the buyers. And we told them, we would say to them, Psh, we got some FUBU back at the hotel. So security's looking for 5 or 6 guys with afros talking about, I got FUBU back at the hotel. But out of that, we wrote about $300,000 worth of orders.
So that was really the turning point?
That was the turning point, and then, you know, make a long story short, I turned my house into a factory. I burned all my furniture and moved sewing machines in there. And after a while, Samsung, the textile division, saw that we were really making a lot of noise in the area of textiles and fashion, and they decided to give us a distribution deal.
And that's really the key here, is that it wasn't an overnight thing. I always ask people, how long did it take you to become an overnight success? There's all these different things that happen along the way. So
yeah, every overnight success clearly takes 15 years.
Okay, one more FUBU question, and then I'm going to move on. There was a time that I read an interview where you said that you thought that you should have maybe sold sooner, that you felt like you missed an opportunity. Tell me about that, and what advice do you have for people in terms of timing on when to seek an acquisition for their company?
Yeah, timing is key, and you need to understand when you're in a bubble. I mean, Mark Cuban always says he's the king of selling in a bubble. And, you know, it was one time we were offered, I think, $400 million. No, maybe it was $275 million for the company, and we wanted $400 million. Kmart wanted to buy the company at that time because they wanted to bring this consumer into their stores and have some type of authenticity, and that was around 2001. And we didn't take the money for various reasons. First of all, we were under this pressure by, you know, the young hip-hop kids that, oh, you'll be a sellout. Second of all, we just felt the numbers, you know, were really what we felt it should be, and we never took that money. And FUBU was not doing as well as that now. We probably would have taken much less later on. In hindsight, but that's always 2020. So, you know, it's really that when you're onto something and it's a bubble and it's when everybody's talking about it, and if you get what I feel is a fair valuation, if you don't have this long 20, 30, 50-year plan, I would advise to at least entertain the acquisition.
Okay. Well, that's a good problem to have, right? When you have companies that are interested in what you're doing. So kudos to you on that. Another thing is a lot of people don't realize all of the different things that you work on. You're investing in these companies. You're one of the stars of Shark Tank, but you also have other projects. Tell me about maybe one or two of the other big things that you're happy about right now.
Yeah, so, you know, in apparel, we just bought the company Etonic, the footwear company that came out right around the same time as Nike. So we're reintroducing that. In regards to other things, I have a fund. It's a fund called Shark Associates where we're going out. It's about an $8 billion fund where we're going out and we want to create jobs and we want to, you know, go into cities of Detroit and revitalize it and create. It's a real estate fund. To build a lot of properties there. And then I am looking at tech companies. You know, we have Shark Branding, which is my company that we love to put celebrities and artists along with tech and brands. You know, we've done that many, many times over the years. You know, we represented in the early stages Pitbull and the Kardashians and Lennox Lewis and a lot of other individuals when we brand them. So we love to bring the sexiness to tech. You know, tech has the ability and it has all the other things except for we think sometimes it needs a little bit of a sexy play on it.
Mm-hmm. What do you look for in startups? I'm sure there are lots of people that want to know about that.
Well, first of all, I look at the board and or the people that are operating the startup. Is it somebody who has been in the business for quite some time and they've lost more than they've succeeded and that they understand when they're onto something hot? I think that we also like to see that there is some form of proof of concept, that they've put it out in the market and they've had a model and they've gotten back all the problems and they're slowly figuring it out. I like to see that it's a problem solver that's running the business. Also, what are the options? What is the financing that's behind it in the beginning? I don't want to go in there where I know that I'm going to be diluted and I'm going to be one of 50 people in the project. So, you know, we look for all those type of things. And again, also, more importantly, do I resonate with it? Do I see a need for it in my personal life?
What are when people come to you and pitch you with their companies, what are the red flags that you look for?
The red flags are people that are new to the business. The red flags are the people that tell me that, you know, this is a $20 billion market, and if I only get 1% of 1% of 1%, this is how much I would have. The people that, you know, they can't get out of their own way often. I think they're too smart for their own good. They think that they can be both the developer, the programmer, the CEO, and they like to over-negotiate, so end up getting deal fatigue. You know, things of that nature.
Deal fatigue. I've never heard that concept, but a good one. What are the mistakes that you made early on that you wish someone had told you about?
I think initially I did not have financial intelligence. I didn't know, you know, it's really hard to make money. It's twice as hard to keep it, number one. I also didn't realize the value of distribution. You know, as good as your product and as good as it can be, if you don't have a form of distribution to get it out to people, then nobody really know about it. I always knew about branding, so I was very excited about that. But I think those are the two things, to really have strategic partners that, you know, you have smart money behind you where they don't only just put up money, but they add a value to you. We always say OPM is other people's money, but I look at OPM as other people's manufacturing, other people's mind power, other people's manpower. And I think that it's really important to have distribution and very smart partners behind you.
What are the things you did right?
Things I did right was I had a various amount of mentors with me that, you know, did not have any interest in the business, but they knew how to operate a business. It didn't have to be a big business. I had a mentor who had just a little store, a bodega, but he had it for 20 years. And somebody who even had a bodega that went up and down in business over 20 years and was successful in it, he understood the fundamentals of business. You know, that was the biggest thing with me. I also didn't go out and die from overfunding. I learned all my mistakes small, and I operated like the power of broke. If it was always easy because you had money to go out and solve every single problem, then you would be a success all the time. But it's operating with the power of broke. I took those 10 shirts and put it on people. You know, I made sure that I understood where the market was moving and where I needed to be, that these things called videos back in the late 80s and 90s were going to be the way that the kids thought was CNN and their Wall Street Journal at the time, right? You know, that's not good or bad. It's horrible, actually, because they thought that. But I always operated with the power of broke and never thought that I needed more money to accomplish something.
And you get into rooms that a lot of people don't get into. A lot of times I interview successful celebrities, and they say, well, you know, there was the level that I wanted to get to, but then when I got there, I realized there was an entirely bigger level. Take us into that world in terms of the things that you see now that you aspire to.
You know, that's a really good question. You know, I see that, you know, when I go into many of the corporations, when I'm speaking to them, what I'm noticing now is, and it's the beauty of Shark Tank, the corporations are starting to look for talent within themselves before they go for startups. So, like, you know, when I speak to them, they are having all their C-level employees, 100 of them, start to pitch to each other in a Shark Tank type thing. And because they all can activate the budgets, they're starting to do that themselves. So first of all, companies are looking within because they're starting to want to foster something called intrapreneurship. Unlike entrepreneurship, they want to now have people think outside the box. And then when you look at the really, really, you know, wealthy individuals and players in the market, they think a whole different way. When I was sitting at dinner with some of the richest individuals in the world, they were thinking about how many cars are on the planet and how they can tap technology into every single car, no matter who the maker was. Obviously, Elon is doing something like that where it comes to his powering of vehicles, right? They think on such a global scale almost all the time. And then how they execute it is they go and acquire all these small startups and they create a Frankenstein and then they plug it into their system.
It reminds me of 50 Cent when he did the vitamin water deal, which net him $100 million profit. But what was fascinating about it was he went into a room and they said, hey, you want to do a deal with Pepsi? You want to do a deal with Coke? And he said, no, I want to do something with water, right? And water is bountiful, it's plentiful, and he did that deal. So what is your long-term vision for Daymond John?
Well, you know, I have a long-term vision, which is obviously to, at this moment, create jobs. And you know, many of us on Shark Tank, we never thought that it would last past 1 year. And it has become a show where entrepreneurship is just so hot. And kids these days, they want to be a shark just as much as they want to be a rapper or an athlete, which we value. And we understand, we understand that there's a bigger responsibility that we have. So, you know, my long-term goal is, of course, to you know, always be a business guy. I don't want to go home. I tried to retire once, you know, and I was, you know, after my wife at the time kept telling me to empty the garbage, I realized I had to go back to work, right? So, you know, I'm always going to be working, but at this time I want to create jobs. And then I have the obligation of, you know, and the joy of having to work with all these companies. We acquire an average, after we close, 10 to 15 companies a year. And these people are letting us be part of their dream. And, you know, that's our obligation for quite some time. So I'm really taking care of my Shark Tank companies as well as mine right now.
And just a few questions about the show. Lots of people always wonder, how do I get on the show? And they think if they pitch you, they can get on the show. But that's not right, is it?
No, that's the only way that I can guarantee you won't get on the show. Because if I happen to know you or Mark or any of the Sharks know you, then the deck is going to be stacked. So if you talk to me, I promise you, you won't get on the show.
Okay. And when you invest in these companies, do you really stick with them? I mean, are there some that end up not working out from the show?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So those pitches are about 2.5, they can range up to 2.5 hours long, and you only see 8 minutes of it. And, you know, the close rate on those pitches are about 80%. Now, we're up to about closing on 80% of those deals. Now, if I look at closing on about 15 deals, what happens is, you know, some of them are going to just putter along, and they just need a cash infusion. And, you know, when things start to move, call me. Some of them are going to, you know, they're going to blow their load fairly quickly. And then you got about 3 or 4 that will start to see immediate return, and I tend to insulate and surround them with people. I hire people at that time according to those guys.
There's a lot of the chemistry on the show. You don't always get along, but is that pretty authentic?
Oh, that's very authentic.
The intensity of the show?
Yeah. Listen, if we're going to play football, you may be my guy, but I'm going to try to crack your head open, right? So, Cuban always thinks he's right. Barbara doesn't take her meds. Lori is, Lori, and Kevin is he's just an evil individual all around, right? And Robert loves every single thing, but at the end of the day, he's just as mean as all of us. And I'm the smartest. So that's just the dynamics that we have, It's hard being the token smart guy on the show. It really is.
And out of all your co-hosts, who have you learned the most from?
That's tough because as much as I joke about them, they truly are brilliant. And, I really don't know. Kevin thinks on a global level. He's really, really sharp with that. Mark, his technology and the way that he comes with the good old boy, beers and chips kind of guy, and what I like this is great. Barbara, she's a marketing genius. I know how to put a star on the face of something and push it out. Barbara will think about it from nothing, and she will come up with something really, really great. So it's really hard. And you know what? I think we learn more from the contestants. I think that, there's digital natives coming up there, 16, 17 years old. They know things that I just have no concept about. And that's often why we want to be part of it, because God forbid something happens to this business and we don't do well with that business. We're hiring that person. We're going to start another business together. There's about 3 of my investments that didn't go well with the current investment, but those individuals are running something else, or we're partners on something else.
You mentioned millennials. Do you think we're in good hands? We'll be in good hands with them? Are you inspired by some of the young people that you see that are entrepreneurs now?
I truly am, only because, I happen to be this conductor and or this lightning rod of entrepreneurship, so I get to see more of these people. And these kids, and I'm talking about 9 and 10. How many here watch Shark Tanks with their kids, right? And you see that? These kids are truly amazing, and they think of things because they're so pure in their way of thinking. We are really in good hands.
Daymond John, thank you.
Give
it up for Daymond John.
Thank you very much.
Such an inspiration for so many people. Really, thank you for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Keep it up.